about 5:25 in the evening. Sunset. Almost right on the dot, technically. Got some nice coloring right after a snowfall. I think it was supposed to snow more than it did, but you still have a nice effect. Still looks cool. I have rain overhead, and I found the location of the moon. It's right there. I always look for it. Sometimes it's behind me. Most of the times it's behind me. Today, it is obscured by trees. But that's okay. I always feel when you come out at this time and you have all the woodland colors mixed with some nice sky, kind of feels like an old-fashioned poem or something. Like something Robert Frost would write about. He has one poem that I really like. Talked about how the world would end, whether it would end in fire or whether it would end in ice. It's pretty interesting. That was always a poem that I thought about as a kid. As we have a helicopter fly by. Hopefully I got it. Not too sure with the camera angle, because as the camera runs, the lighting stays on for a little while, but then it fades to black. The camera stays on, but your lighting turns off. So it's always hard to see, or it's impossible to see what the camera is actually capturing. I thought that I would talk about the new external web camera I got and the streaming that it allows me to do. I got a high quality external webcam, and because of that I can stream on many platforms, but the platform of interest for this discussion is obviously YouTube. I have found that I am more suited for streaming than I am for actually making videos. A lot of people, when they make videos, they have an entertaining plan, an entertaining idea, and then they can edit the footage in such a way to highlight the entertainment value of their material. However, if you're like me and you have a channel where you give mostly lecture style talks, then all of that post editing for a creative flair is pretty useless. So in that respect, making videos is not optimal. If you're going to give lecture style talks, I think streaming is much more your preferred medium of expression. I found that when I stream, I can talk about either serious or non-serious things. And because everything is dynamic and done through stream of consciousness, I can easily pivot from one idea to the next while giving viewers an interesting or at least laughable thing to look at while I proceed in my stream of consciousness ideas. It was interesting. I've done 2 streams and they have totaled so far 25 views. And I honestly didn't think I would get any views. So that's quite interesting, especially on the second stream where it was 100% a stream of consciousness, and almost like if you were to say charitably an art installation where the art is the stream of consciousness. I was able to use a free art app on my computer and give people a visual of just nonsense art as I proceeded to talk about whatever I wanted and make connections to various things. It was interesting while doing that. I had the thought to add certain keywords to the artistic expression that I was engaging in, and that led me to think about how people use text as a form of artistic expression. Outside of poetry, more like art in combination with text, to just give everything a nice appeal or a nice flair. If you add words to an artistic piece, I feel like that's a good way to make people think and not overthink. You want to avoid overthinking. I think that's the primary benefit to art anyway. People want to give all this meaning to art and get in the heads of an artist. But I think in doing so, they miss the true beauty of the art. The true beauty is in allowing you to escape this world for just a second and live in a different world. I guess that is the purpose of reading books, but I was never really able to do that in reading somebody else's story. It just never appealed to me. It's interesting. You read all these articles about brain health and how to keep sharp. And I think that one of the primary things you can do that would help is to engage in stream of consciousness. If you engage in stream of consciousness and you learn to make connections to things and you're able to go back and forth almost like a web, I feel like that'll keep your mind sharp. There is a counter to this though, as there is a counter to everything. And that is, you can argue Donald Trump engages in stream of consciousness. However, I would argue that his stream of consciousness is not constructive. I am referring to constructive stream of consciousness. What he does is more of an incoherent ramble, which is pretty useless. But I guess for his audience, whose brains are mostly shot anyway, they can't tell the difference. I think stream of consciousness as an art form is not talked about much, but I think it is highly valuable. I don't think most people can do it, but I think if you can, then you can teach people a lot. I think most successful entertainers are not people who meticulously plan out a YouTube video, but they are much more the type of people who can engage in stream of consciousness and come up with interesting connections as they do so. A good example of this, in the past anyway, was Kanye West. Now, Kanye is suffering some psychological issues now, but he was an artist who was very good at having a very interesting stream of consciousness, and I hope he can get that back. Because it would be sad to see his career end just as it is right now. One thing about streaming though, which is totally separate from videos, is I feel like anyone could make a video as long as they edit it properly. You can take as many pauses as you need and just edit it out later and still create a very interesting video if you have an interesting idea. Streaming, being live, does not allow for edit, obviously. So if you have a problem with public speaking anxiety, streaming is not going to work for you. Streaming works for me because I never use a script. But if you are someone who relies on a script, then I highly suggest that they just stick to making videos, because they will fail at streaming. However, like I've said in previous videos, there are elements to making videos that I will never be good at. People who enjoy editing can make awesome videos. I feel like my videos will always be limited, in a sense. I feel like I would have to hire someone to try to make them more interesting. But that is why I am glad that I can also stream now. Because luckily for me, and to my happy surprise, it seems like YouTube recommends your stream to a lot of people. I know the stream I just did, while I was doing it, it got recommended to 2,600 people. That's quite a lot. I don't necessarily understand how the YouTube watch time for streaming works, though, because if you look at the two streams I've done, The first stream, it said, was viewed for a total of 6 hours, and the second stream was viewed for a total of 8 hours. However, when you look at YouTube analytics, it only gives you credit for about a half hour total out of those 14 hours of total stream time that people watch. So I don't necessarily understand how that works, but it doesn't really matter. There's some very nice coloring. The darkness of the cloud straight ahead adds to the contrast of the light below and the light from the moon above. See, I could never draw a picture like this or paint a picture like this, but I can use words to describe them. Using words in an artistic way. I had the idea of creating a website with the name Disabled Dream, but I can't think of a great theme for such a website. I can't think of the correct material to put on such a website that I could generate every day or every week to make it interesting so people would see it. I was thinking of some artistic expression, but as of right now, I haven't really come up with a great idea. Maybe I will though, in the future. Maybe some easy idea will come to me. It would be interesting though. I wouldn't sell anything on the site. It would just be a way to get my name out there and perhaps do so in an artistic way. One thing that's nice about stream of consciousness, in terms of streaming anyway, is that you can do stream of consciousness for a very long time. So you can stream for a very long time and not get bored. However, I feel like the sweet spot for streaming anyway, for me, is about 1.5 to 2 hours. Anything more than that, I noticed that I start taking deeper breaths, and it becomes more difficult. The nice thing about these videos is that they are relatively short, so you don't really hear much of a difficulty. You do sometimes, perhaps, but most of the time you do not. Anyway, I think I am out of ideas. Hopefully this video is interesting. I was thinking an interesting stream could be people watching me taking a video off a GoPro camera and going through the entire editing process all the way through YouTube upload. So we'll see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and enjoyed the coloring along the way to add some nice artistic expression to the talk.